Hey there, everybody. I haven't been live on YouTube in a while. I thought I would come on and go live because that's what you do when you go live on YouTube. Is you go onto YouTube and you go live because that's the thing that you do. I'm watching to see if it's working. And for some reason, they're playing an ad before me going live here. So I have to do an ad before I see if I'm even here. There we go. Everything's going really smoothly here. So for those of you who have not been onto my live appearances before, I generally come on every once in a while, talk to people a little bit about astrology, answer your questions about astrology, but I need to be clear because quite often when I do this, I get bombarded with people's questions about their own charts. And that's not why I'm here, because to be quite honest, I don't think people should tell you things about your own chart based on you just telling them a couple of planetary positions and things along those lines. And in Vedic astrology, your horoscope is so much more than just your main birth chart. So to kind of ask somebody for a prediction in that way, it's probably not really the healthiest way to approach astrology. I haven't been on YouTube much lately, if many of you have noticed. That's because recently it was my son's birthday, so I was really super busy preparing for a time away for him. And so that kind of kept me really, really super occupied with things, waiting for, oh, good, now people are beginning to join us. There's always that lag on YouTube where you start going and you don't find anybody coming on until like a good minute and a half into you already talking and everything. So I'm going to get going and talking for a bit about things that are going on in my world while I'm waiting for people to kind of come on and pop their questions over in the chat window. For those of you who have been following my Facebook feed as well as my YouTube channel, you've likely heard me lately talking a lot about something called Empower Hours. And you're probably going, well, what's really going on with that? Is he, completely revamped the way that he's working with astrology? And the answer to that on a certain level would be absolutely not. Okay, because the thing is I've always taken an approach with astrology that's geared towards empowering the individual. And that's what the Empower Hours are all about, is empowering you. And I'm going to go a little bit into that tonight. And again, as I mentioned before, you're welcome to come on, pop your questions on. Imagine a lot of you are being quiet tonight because you got the television switched on and you can't pry yourself away from the news, but really you should. You should pry yourself away from the news and talk about something that's a little bit different than all the trouble in the world, because what fun is all the trouble in the world, huh? Okay, so if you have any questions about astrology, pop them over in the chat window. They're more than welcome. I also want to let you know that if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about what the Empower Hours and an empowered approach to astrology is all about, the next three people who schedule with me will get their consultation for only $135, which is a good reduction on the cost. Plus, you get a free video course. You can choose between the Nakshatra Secrets video course or Learn the Divisional Charts Module 1, or you can also have the Learning the Language Fundamentals course. All of those are for you absolutely free. If you're one of the first three people to schedule a consultation with me, one of the Empower Hours, for $135. So what exactly is the Empower Hour all about? One of the things that I've really learned through my years in working with astrology, going over like 25 years at this particular point, is that people many times have a very unhealthy relationship to prediction. I'm going to say it. A lot of you may not like to hear it, but it's actually true. A lot of people get caught up in the concept of prediction and have an unrealistic way of looking at it. Sometimes people will go to an astrologer and think that just because the astrologer gives a prediction, that the astrologer is going to be 100% right 100% of the time. And you know what? I don't care who you are. There is no astrologer out there that is 100% accurate 100% of the time. It just doesn't happen. So a prediction can always go wrong. There's a number of things that can make a prediction go wrong, such as an inaccurate birth time, um, generally inaccurate location of birth, so many different things. But in addition to that, sometimes the universe just kind of steps in and goes, no matter how much this person tries to give a perfect prediction, I'm not going to let them do it. And that's just part of how it goes. So if you live your life by a prediction, then you're letting your life be dictated to, right? You're just going, okay, this is going to happen to me. I have no choice. I can't do anything about it. I'm just going to sit here and roll over and play dead and let it all happen to me. And that's not really a good way of going about things. And here's another thing too, is quite often people will go to an astrologer asking a question like, when am I going to get a job? Or when is my monetary situation going to improve? When am I going to get into a relationship? And quite often, when you go to an astrologer with questions like that, you're not going to hear the answer that you want to hear. Because usually the thing that's making you approach the astrologer for a prediction about relationships or your career or any number of things is that there is something that's out of alignment in that particular area of your life, right? So, in other words, that's not functioning well at the moment in time that you're contacting the astrologer. And so you're going to the astrologer going, I want to see if the astrologer is going to tell me that I'll fall in love, or I want to see if the astrologer will tell me who I'll marry, or I want to see if the astrologer will tell me that I'm going to be rich and when I'm going to be rich. And in actuality, you're probably hoping for that to happen really soon. And the chances are that it's not going to happen at that particular moment in time, right? And so then you get disappointed and you go away and you get no sense of hope from the consultation that you've had. Well, I've got news for you. Shit ain't like that. I'm going to say it to you, right? So things are like that with prediction. Yes, you'll go to an astrologer, you'll probably hear something that you don't want to hear. But astrology is not all about that particular approach, right? Astrology isn't about us just sitting back and waiting for things to happen in our life. There's a story I often tell about a client who came to me and they were wanting to know if they were going to get divorced. They were, living with their husband, not really in a relationship with them anymore. It just wasn't working out, and they were waiting, for divorce to come through. And I looked at their chart. All the divorce factors were showing, and the time came and went. The person contacted me back and said, I didn't get divorced. What happened? So my next question to them was, did you try to get divorced? To which they said no. And I said, that's what happened. So you see, we have to participate in our lives. It's not just that, things like fall on your lap all the time, right? And, pardon me for a moment, even if things are going to naturally fall in your lap, isn't it better that you interact with your destiny and feel like you're involved in that, right? It's so much more lively to put energy and effort out and then have something happen. Now, of course, it's not necessarily you that's creating it. It's just something that's, that universe is creating for you, God is creating for you, whatever it is that you want to call it, right? So that's happening. But you interacting with your destiny makes it feel to you like things are going a little more smoothly. So it's not just about sitting around and waiting for something to happen. It's not just about sitting around and waiting for your relationships to get better. It's not just about sitting around and waiting for your career to get better. It's not just about waiting around and hoping that your life will at some point have a sense of purpose at some point in the future, right? What astrology shows you is the inherent nature of your birth chart and all the different divisional charts, etc., right? And what it's showing you at any given moment in time are the karmic patterns that are surfacing at that particular moment. Now, those karmic patterns aren't surfacing just so you can, go out and have a party, get a car, make thousands of dollars and everything like that. The universe doesn't really give a toss about that. It cares about you evolving, right? And what's one of the best ways to evolve? To pay fucking attention. Pardon my language tonight, but I'm just really passionate about this. And I think people need to pay attention to their life and take a look at what's going on. That's what astrology is for. It's showing you what you have to work with at that particular moment. It's showing you, here's an opportunity. Yes, you may not get that flashy car. You may not buy that house that you think is a milestone that you have to achieve for some godforsaken reason I really don't know. Because once you reach that milestone, guess what? There's going to be another damn milestone. And if you spend your entire life chasing milestones, the one milestone you should chase is following your heart and doing what your heart tells you, not your head, which is telling you that, well, to be like this person, I have to do this, and to be like that person, I have to do that. You just have to be like yourself. And that's what you and your horoscope are all about. So those very same factors that are in the horoscope that are showing you, oh, you could get a car at this particular time, or oh, you could get a job at this particular time, or oh, you could make a lot of money. Those things are happening because those are the karmic patterns in your chart surfacing. They're surfacing for you to pay attention to learn a lesson from, and to take the right steps, take the correct steps. Now, let's see. I know that people are a little bit quiet over here in the chat window, but I want to hear your thoughts over here in the chat window about how we figure out what the right approach to things is, right? Because that's the other side of astrology that, this is going to sound confusing, I'll warn you ahead of time, that this is the other side of astrology that I'm not too enthused about, which is the side of astrology that people use astrology to structure every single moment of their lives. I can't do this until this time because this says that. I can't sign a contract because Mercury's retrograde. I can't follow my purpose because it's not the right time to follow my purpose. Screw that. I'm going to say it. Screw that. That's just nonsense. It's not the way to work with astrology. If your heart has an impulse and it's saying, I want to go after that job. I am interested in this particular person and I want to pursue them. I want to try to make some money. If your heart is pushing you in that direction, follow that impulse, even if the challenge is there, even if it's going to go horribly wrong, even if it's not the right time for you to be perfectly successful with it. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to wait. Guess what? Sometimes a challenge in your life is the greatest form of prosperity that you could ever have, right? So I kind of went off on a passionate thread there because I'm really passionate about this particular concept. And I think that people should take a more empowered approach to astrology. And as I mentioned before, I'll say this once again, if you're one of the next 3 people to schedule one of my Empower Hours, you get your Empower Hour for $135, which is much less than what it usually is. Plus, you're also going to get a free course, either Nakshatra Secrets, Learning the Language Fundamentals course, or what's the other one? The Learn the Divisional Charts Module 1 course. And you can choose which of those you want if you go and schedule. And there's a link down, pardon me, in the live window that you're watching from, so that you can go and schedule in if you want to. But I'm only taking the next 3 people at that price. Okay. So what is an empowered approach to astrology? Well, here's another example, and I am answering that question. Don't think I'm kind of trying to skirt around it, because I'm not. I'll give you an example. There was another client, and it's okay for me to talk about this because I'm not naming people's names, and I know these people wouldn't mind me saying this to you anyway. But there was another client I had who came to me for a consultation. He had always gone for jobs that he thought he was going to be really satisfied with, and got the position, and then got really dissatisfied with it. Okay, so he came to me because he was looking to take a job that he had been offered that would have required him relocating his family halfway across the country. So it would have been a big move. And so he was wanting to know, what's it likely going to turn out like if I make this move? And so I looked at it at the time that he would have moved, at the time that he would have settled in. And I said, well, it's likely that you're going to be dissatisfied with the position again. To which his response was, oh, so maybe I shouldn't take the position. So you see, you shouldn't live your life by astrology. And so what I said to him was, look, think of it this way. If you stay with the job that you're in, you're going to feel dissatisfied in another 6 months anyway. If you kind of go and you take this job, you may feel dissatisfied with that too. So would you rather make a choice that's making a choice by your heart and going with the impulse that your heart is guiding you in? Or do you feel that it's better to stay safe with this particular position? To which his answer was, I need to go with my impulse. I need to feel like I'm taking action and moving towards something. So I think I'm going to take the job. And I went, good for you. Because astrology is not there to make the choices for you, right? Astrology is there for you to make the choices for yourself. And pardon me for a second, but my screen just went black. There we go. Astrology is there for you to make the choices for yourself, but to make the choices with awareness, right? Like another thing that I get quite often is people who have this desire to follow this like lifetime purpose that they felt inside of themselves. And they want to know if it's a good time to do it, if it's a wrong time to do it. Any time is a good time to do that, right? But you can do that and you might have to face a struggle. Guess what? You learn a lot from that struggle. You learn, like if you start a business during a time where it's difficult, that's probably one of the best times to start a business, because you know what? You're going to have to learn a lot of things on the fly that you weren't aware you were going to have to learn. So always follow your impulse. Always follow what your heart is saying. So an empowered approach to astrology is going to help you to figure out where your heart is and make the decisions from that. I've been saying in my posts lately that what I want to do with these Empower Hours is to take you beyond prediction to empowerment. That doesn't mean I won't look at prediction for you, but I don't want people to come to me, get a prediction, get disheartened because the thing that they're wanting is not going to happen, and think that life is pointless and think that there's no hope, and to feel completely like, like their hopes have been dashed. Instead, I want my clients to understand, if they come to me for a prediction, that the things that are happening in your life are there to bring your attention to something that's out of alignment if things aren't going well, and that are a little bit better aligned if things are going well. So at those times when things are well aligned, then it's about knowing how you need to apply your awareness to make the most of the situation. And when things are not aligned well, it's about understanding what you're needing to work on, right? The interesting thing is the nodal axis will always show you something about the present moment that you're in. And I do a lot of work in these empower hours with the nodal axis because you know what? Let's say you're not in K2 dasha and you're not in Rahu dasha, but let's say you've got K2 in Capricorn and you're in Saturn dasha. Guess what? Your K2 is going to get activated. Let's say K2 is in Purva Falguni and you're in Venus dasha. Guess what? K2 is going to get activated. And even if it's not like a ruler of K2 or a ruler of Rahu, which chances are it probably will be because you'll find in one of the divisional charts, quite often K2 and Rahu can be in almost any particular sign. So, it does happen like that. But even if it's not that you're in a dasha period where the lord of K2 or Rahu is getting activated, or the nakshatra dispositor of K2 or Rahu is getting activated, then planets are always making planetary aspects to the nodes, right? So the nodes get activated by that too. So the nodes are always active in your chart. That means the karmic factors are always active in your horoscope. Your karmic path is always being tested. You're always being brought into contact with something for a reason. So when people come to me for prediction, sure, I'll give them the prediction. I'll tell them with honesty what I think, but I want to take you further than that. I don't want you, as I was saying, to get disappointed by hearing something that you don't want to hear. I don't want you to obsess over what your spouse is going to look like, what shirt they're going to wear, if they'll have a food speck on the right-hand side of their shirt or the left-hand side of the shirt when you meet them, and whether it will be on a Friday night under a new moon or anything like that. That's just a waste of your time. If you try to put so many conditions on a prediction, something is certainly going to go wrong. Instead, if you're finding yourself in a position where you're going, I want to know when I'm going to get into a relationship. I want to know when my job's going to go better. I want to know when finances will improve. Try taking a different damn approach and instead go, what can I do to work on my finances? What can I do to work on my career? What can I do to make life feel like it has a greater sense of purpose? Rather than waiting for the universe to hand you a damn plate of purpose on a silver platter, go out and get that plate yourself, right? Do the work that your chart's asking you to. And that's another thing I've been posting about lately too, the concept of remedial measures, right? So remedial measures can work. But remedial measures work because the magic that they produce is inside of you. And remedial measures are never meant for you to sorry, I got distracted by somebody's note. I'll go take a look at it here in a second. Remedial measures were never meant for you to feel like you could put a ring on and suddenly have $1 million, or chant a mantra and suddenly your ex will come back to you. That's not what remedial measures are about. They're there to remind you of the work that you're needing to do, right? So remedial measures divorced from understanding the work that you need to do in your chart, which is always dictated by your horoscope at any moment in time, especially if you know the nakshatras. I'm clapping my hands a lot, yes. So the thing is, your karma is getting activated. There's something for you to work through. There's something for you to learn. That's why you're having a hard time. That's why money isn't going well. That's why your relationship isn't going well. So rather than just ask when it's going to change, sure, if you want to know when it's going to change, ask, but also ask what you can do about your situation in order to help it. That's an empowered approach to astrology. Now, I'm probably going to catch hell for saying this, but I don't really give a toss anymore. Because I'm getting old. When you get older, you don't really give a toss anymore. I've quite often said that astrology is probably one of the greatest yogas we can ever have. And people often go, oh no, it's not a yoga, it's a shastra. Bullshit, it's a yoga, right? Because you pay attention to the factors that are there, understand what you are needing to work on, Apply yourself in that direction, and it brings you towards a state of union. That is a yoga. Regardless of whether somebody says it is or it isn't, that is a yoga. Playing a guitar is yoga. Drinking water is a yoga. All of those things are yoga because your life is a yoga. But the question is whether you're wanting to apply yourself in that direction and apply yourself towards that, towards meeting your destiny halfway, or whether you want to live life in a fatalistic manner. So you have a choice, right? And I'd rather help you to make the choice in an empowered manner. I'm not going to make choices for you when you come to me as an astrologer. I'm going to point out the things that are in your horoscope. I'll say all the factors that are there. I'll say what's being brought to the surface. But the choice comes from inside of you. And sometimes you just need that clarity when it boils down to a choice, right? Probably one of the best ways to work with me, or indeed with any astrologer, is to don't go to the astrologer just for a prediction. Prediction's great to treat the symptoms of the problem you're dealing with. It can help to relieve the anxiety enough to move the stress out of the way so that you can get in and understand the work that you're needing to do. We have a different relationship to prediction in this modern day and age because we live in a fast-paced world. We live in a world that's very materialistic and filled with desires, and not quite so much like our ancestors who really, when they looked at prediction, were looking at prediction as a way of understanding the patterns in their life, understanding who they were, understanding the directions that they needed to grow in. Not so much just wanting to achieve some milestone or get rich or get some successful job. Sure, that happened too. But I think the ancients had a better relationship with prediction than we do. I think everybody's relationship with prediction in this modern day and age has gone a little bit topsy-turvy. And we look for prediction to do everything for us rather than recognizing that we also need to do the work ourselves. So if you're in that difficult moment, try to identify what you can work with to get yourself out of it. Even if it doesn't get you out of it, you'll be applying yourself in the right direction. That's another thing that happens too. And I know this is hard to hear. People think that if you do the right thing, everything in your life will immediately turn around in a positive manner. It will on one level, and that's the fact that you're doing the right thing. You'll be living by your heart. That matters more than anything else in the world. So yes, that is a good thing. But it doesn't mean that just because you work on your relationships, your ex-boyfriend's going to come back. Or just because you work on your finances, you're going to get filthy rich. But you'll be aware of the problem and why it's being presented to you in the first place. That's what it's all about. So again, I wanted to let people know, next 3 people who schedule one of my Empower Hours, those are going to go for $135. Then they're going to go back up in price, but you also get a free course, either the Nakshatra Secrets course or the Learning the Divisional Charts course, module 1 of that, or the Learning the Language Fundamentals course. I also have, a 6-week program. It's called the Empowerment Experience, right? And this is something I've just done the pre-launch for, and I already filled it with the exception of 1 slot. But that 1 slot is available to you at a price that's lower than what I usually charge. This program is going to be like close to $900 for 6 one-hour sessions, but it's presently $725 for 6 one-hour sessions, which is much less than the normal price for 1-hour consultation. And you're going, but why do I need 6 one-hour consultations? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to use that first consultation to, oh, and by the way, payment plans are available for this, so you can split it over 3 payments. But what we're going to do in that first session is a karmic analysis. We're going to understand your overall karmic path in the horoscope to help you to tune in to the karmic work that you're here to do. We're also going to take a look in the second session at something called the Lajatati Avastas. The Lajatati Avastas show the things that are giving us fulfillment and the areas of our life where our fulfillment is somewhat, hindered, right? And we can work with these and apply action based on the planets in certain directions in order to improve the level of fulfillment that we're getting. In the third session, we're going to understand how to take the weaknesses that are in our horoscope and transform them into strengths. We're going to transmute vulnerabilities into power. And in the fourth session, yes, I believe it's fourth session is what I affectionately call power tools. And I called it that on purpose because it has a funny sound to it. But what it's about is, understanding the tools, either through remedial measures approached in a positive manner, or tools such as working with a particular planet through applied action in your horoscope, so that you can begin to take steps in the direction of improving your life in the manner that you're wanting to improve it. The fifth session is more about implementation. Implementation will have been taking place already during this process, but this is the fifth consultation is focused specifically on it, talking back and forth, understanding the processes that you've been working through. And in the sixth session, that's about recognizing the work that you've done so far, coming to a place of deeper empowerment, deeper self-understanding, and recognizing that what you've done is removed all the veils that were keeping you from being able to tune in to something that you were already, which was empowered. So this is what the 6-week empowerment experience is already about. There's one position left on the pre-launch run of it. As I mentioned, after that, it's going to go up in price to close to $900, which is what it should be. In the coming weeks, I'll be doing the bigger launch of that, and you'll probably see some information about that then, but you have an opportunity to get in on the ground floor with the experience. And there should be a link down in the comments section below, or in the description section below is what I meant to say. And if not, you can find it pretty easily on my website, which I just updated today. So I'll wait a second and see if anybody has any questions they want to put in the chat window, and handle those in the next few minutes. So if you do have one or two questions, you might want to ask it more. I'm just going to read over what people have said so far. Yeah, that's very funny, Cedento, saying astrology is about having a date with Rahu and not having K2 get freaked. Actually, it's about balancing the nodes in your chart. Sometimes you need to do K2, right? And a lot of times people don't understand that. Okay, couldn't agree with you more. Your approach is much more self-empowering. One of the best questions we can ask is, what can I do better, more to help myself? Yes. Always ask your soul what's needed first. Yes. Okay. Some people are being jokesters here. I can appreciate a good joke. Okay, so nobody has any questions. So that's okay. So what I will do is I will leave you with that information. Only to remind you that if you want one of those lower priced consultations, the single Empower hours, which you can always schedule, unless I'm fully booked, of course, those will give you a taster of what the 6-week experience is about. But really, to be fair, all that I've really done, I haven't changed my approach to astrology. I just amplified it a lot more and put like a little bit of, fuel injection in it to take it up a notch so that it's focusing more on it. And I just really put it out there more that this is how I want to work with people. But I've always worked with people. So if you want to go schedule in with me, you can find the link down below. Thanks a lot for watching me babble for the last half hour, and I'll talk to everybody next time.